begin tonight with Bill O'Reilly, host of the No Spin News on BillO'Reilly.com. Good to see you. Mr. O, I am trying to figure this one out. Strategy behind Jimmy Carter, be happy with less.
There is no strategy. Donald Trump is not a calculated speaker. He doesn't sit around with his advisors saying, what should I say? He says anything he wants to say. Rich guys say anything they want to say, okay? And since he fits into that category from the time he's been 7 years old, he said whatever he wants to say. There is a little bit of meaning behind the doll comment. He would like Americans to sacrifice a little to bring China to its economic needs. And I think that's what the comment was, but who the deuce knows? The worst thing was the Pope picture. That was beyond a pale.
Is he sort of flailing right now?
Comment is what?
Is he flailing? Is he kind of out of control? He seems not in, no?
I think he's tired, and that leads to statements that maybe you want to take back. But the doll comment, you know, you have to understand the president says all of these things, and it drives the press nuts. And guys like you seize on it, and he couldn't care less.
Don't give me guys like me, Bill.
No,
Come on.
it's true. It's true.
Oh, you just said the press seized on the Pope picture. You didn't like that either. Is that, you think that was funny? Was that a joke?
I didn't say the press feeds on it. I didn't say the press feeds on it. I said I didn't think it was smart because it offended a lot of elderly Catholics who voted for him. Look, there was all the headlines this weekend were about his interview with Kristen Welker, where she asked him, are you going to obey the Constitution? And Trump said, well, you know, I don't know. What he was talking about, and again, he is not a precise speaker, was that my lawyers say X, and that X may prevail in the constitutional argument. But Donald Trump doesn't do that.
No, and that's why we didn't cover this, Bill. That's why we didn't cover the stupid scandal over did he actually say he would abide by the...
But the dolls fall into the same...
I disagree with you, and here's why.
The dolls fall into the same category.
No.
Okay.
Here's why. 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 8 out of 10 people can't afford the home they're living in, the car they're driving, cash to cover the next emergency that pops up. If you hear that, as you said, a rich guy saying whatever he feels like, oh, well, you know, maybe you'll have fewer dolls. Maybe for a lot of Americans, that means they won't be able to afford Christmas presents. I don't think this is the same as some sort of made-up controversy over semantics on the Constitution.
I think that's about as far away from President Trump's intent as you could get. See, I mean, Dave Ramsey, 78%, that's not a true stat. That's a stat that Ramsey made up. I would say it's about 50% of Americans. If you look at the census and what people are earning and the median income, about 50% have no money and they're living time to time. But Trump wasn't trying to say, hey, your kids aren't going to get any Christmas presents. Come on, Leland, give me a break on that.
I'm saying that the American people who are hurting hear that and feel like he doesn't understand how they're living.
I'm all right. Look, if you want to be offended, you're going to be offended.
I'm not offended.
But that's about as far away from his meaning as possible.
Okay.
But the reason I raised the Pope picture is that was just dopey. There's no excuse for that. Yeah, I know it was funny and maybe it, but God, the guy just died. You know, all right. What else?
He was asked about it in the Oval Office. He said, "Hey, what? The press can't take a joke?"
Yeah, I mean, he thought it was funny. Some people do think it's funny, but he's a president. I would have advised against it had I been consulted, which I was not.
You were not. Something else you were not consulted on, because 60 Minutes doesn't really check with anything, is 60 Minutes over the weekend. I've stopped watching it. I used to love 60 Minutes, but I've given up because it's clear how what an agenda they have. You do watch it, as I understand, and they did a piece about the law firms that Donald Trump is going after, law firms that were mean to Trump. He's gone after. Here's Scott Pelley.
one firm told us the president's orders were, quote, diabolical, intended to bankrupt us. He said within hours, his major clients were threatening to drop his firm. It took only a matter of days before America's wealthiest and most powerful law firms buckled.
The idea of powerful law firms buckling and that offending Scott Pelley says a lot, but I think you think there's something more nefarious going on?
You know, this is so disappointing because I have a history with 60 Minutes. I've been on there twice. Mike Wallace is a good friend of mine. I knew Don Hewitt pretty well. They have a perfect right to do a story that says that President Trump is taking revenge on law firms that did things that Trump didn't like. That is a legitimate story all day long. What Pelley decided to do, and Pelley is putting himself up as the modern-day dragon slayer, the modern-day Edward Murrow going after Senator McCarthy. Pelley sees himself as going after Donald Trump. That's exactly what's happening. They put a guy up named Mark Elias who goes on 60 Minutes and spins this outrageously dishonest tale that he's being persecuted because he didn't buy the election fraud allegations. That's just a lie. Pelley's got to know it. Mark Elias ran Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016. He hired Fusion GPS, the ones that got the phony Russian dossier that was discredited by the Mueller investigation. Pelley didn't mention it. Didn't mention that. Threw up this sleazy guy to say all of this outrageous stuff without even telling the audience who he was. No, and not only that, in the entire piece, Pelley uses 3 attorneys, all of whom slay Trump. Not one pro-Trump attorney.
Now, fine.
You tell me, is that good journalism,
No, it's not.
Leland?
But no, of course it's not.
No.
No. But
well, why the deuce are they doing it then?
Well, because they hate
Why
Trump.
are the CBS
well,
News
why is
allowing
it? Why? Because CBS hates Trump. Why does it upset you? It's obvious. It's been going on for 20 years.
Why would it upset me?
Yeah.
This is the premier news program in the country that, well, okay, but they still think they are practicing deceit.
I think I'm a lot of things.
That makes me angry. I've been in this business 50 years. This is wrong.
So why do you still watch it?
Because I wanted to watch that piece because they peel off. I didn't watch the rest of the program. Not that it was bad, but there was the basketball game on. Look, they have a pattern. Remember, Trump is suing them for $9 billion. Right,
Paramount,
CBS,
which is sort of
absurd. That suit.
Right, and they're trying to sell it. Look, we've known they've hated Republicans for a long time. They got caught phoning documents up about George W. Bush, right? Okay, this goes back an awful long time here. And your point's well made. I was on the email with you last night when we were talking about this. But you said in your note, and again, I am not litigating this, meaning whether or not Trump going after the law firms is the right thing. But you are so animated and worked up over 60 Minutes, fine. What's more important? What's a bigger threat? Take off your journalist hat, put on your historian hat. What's a bigger threat to America? Some washed-up news program that's shown its bias over and over and over again, showing its bias, or the President of the United States using the power of the presidency to go after his enemies in a way that would make Richard Nixon blush?
The press has a responsibility to report that, okay? And then the American people can hear the facts and make up their minds about it. If it were me and a guy like Mark Elias hired a hit firm to destroy my family and myself, as Elias did, I'd go after him too, Leland, and so would you. So would you, okay? There's a line, all right? You try to destroy somebody's family, then all bets are off. 60 Minutes is a perfect right
is there
to
not
explore that story. But you can do it honestly. And they just refuse to do that.
Okay, fine, agreed. In the record, I'll ask you one last question. You talk about a line. Is there any lines about Donald Trump's behavior in terms of how he handles himself in the office that you say that's a line that you don't cross?
There are things that I've criticized the president for, and you know it.
Yep.
Okay? But right now, the American people put him into office, and he's doing what he promised to do. He may fail, okay? And if he fails, we will report it honestly. But right now, I'm not seeing deceit on the part of President Trump. He sits there every day and answers every question.
That's true.
I saw a lot of deceit. I saw a lot of deceit in the Biden administration, going right up to whether he was capable of running the country.
So is deceit the only thing you can't do?
Do I see anything like that? I don't see anything like that right now in the Trump administration. But it should be scrutinized by the press. But do it honestly.
Agreed. I think, I don't think anybody's disagreeing with you. Certainly I'm not.
No, they are. Trust me.
Okay, they are.
I'll get ripped up for this. I'll get ripped up for this interview. You wait and see.
Well, I'll be right there with you. We're getting ripped up. It's fun. Bill, it's always good to see you. There we go. In this together. It's good to see you, sir, as always. Thank you. We first wrote a lot about this in War Notes. That's your chance for an inside look at the show every day. It is free. warnotes.com and subscribe. You will be delighted and smarter. You also impress your friends with all of your knowledge. warnotes.com for unflinching analysis.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.